7 o'clock, Psycho sees Santa's workshop, and only Lee Majors can stop them. In the night the reindeer died. Be here.
You can't show that commercial. That thing looked like the Manson family Christmas special.
Think I'm way off base?
Yes, you're a tad off base, sir.
Frank Cross is more than the youngest network president in television history.
Call security, have them change his locks, and toss him out of the building.
Oh, he's fired? It's Christmas.
Thank you. Call accounting. Stop his bonus. Watch out.
He's a thoughtful boss,
Thanks, boys. Get the nurse.
a generous brother,
What did he give you last year?
I don't remember. A shower curtain. Excuse me, ma'am. I think you dropped something here.
and a true humanitarian.
I can't get the antlers glued onto this little guy. We've tried crazy glue.
Have you tried Staples?
But his life is about to change.
That was a good one.
You are going to be visited by 3 ghosts tomorrow at noon.
God, tomorrow's bad for me, Lou. As a matter of fact, the whole rest of the week is a washout. Ow.
Anyone who thinks he hates Christmas is wrong.
Come back to Jersey, you moron!
It's ghosts he hates.
I love that bit!
I'm the ghost of Christmas present.
Bill Murray, Karen Allen,
It sounded like you'd seen a ghost.
A ghost?
John Forsythe, Bobcat Goldthwait,
Hey! You glad to see me, or is this a shotgun in your pocket? You know this one?
Everybody knows this one. Let's go now.
Now, does everybody know this one?
Carol Kane, Robert Mitchum,
I really care!
David Johansen.
Oh, I'm having the weirdest day!
See Bill Murray get Scrooged.
Hey, back off, big man. That may work with the chicks, but not with me.
Welcome back to the Cinema Club podcast. My name is Christopher Amick, and I'll be your host for today's episode of the Cinema Club, which is like a book club, but for movies. Every episode, we invite a member of the Cinema Club to be the co-host for the episode, who will choose the movie or television show and join us on the podcast to talk about that show. Today, we are covering Scrooged, and I have Adam and Paige back with me today. Great to have you both with me again. And Adam, you've obviously been on the show a few times. This is the first time that you actually selected a film to co-host, to bring forward. We had talked about it last time, like, hey, maybe we could cover a holiday film for December. And you chose the 1988 film Scrooge. So
Before my time.
yeah, I think before any three of ours. But what was making you wanting to deep dive into Scrooged today?
So admittedly, I had a horrible case of option paralysis because apparently there's like a million Christmas movies. And I kind of got it narrowed down to a few. It was mainly between this one and Nightmare Before Christmas. The reason why I decided on Scrooge, and it's all very personal reasons. It's actually one of the first Christmas movies I ever watched as a kid. And it gave me a lot of nightmare fuel, actually. And not only was it one of my first Christmas movies I ever watched, but at that age, I mainly only viewed movies and TV shows as purely entertainment as a kid. This was the first movie that kind of taught me the moral lesson that I picked out of it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of always stuck in my mind. And I hadn't watched it in I would say well over a decade. And I really wanted to revisit the movie because of its significance to me. So, yeah.
Well, that's really cool. I think everyone has probably at least a couple films that, stuck with them that they watched when they were younger when it comes to the holiday season. So I always enjoy getting a glimpse at the ones that are significant that did impact you that you may look back on fondly. I know for me, it's usually Home Alone and It's a Wonderful
Yeah.
Life. Those are kind of
So
the go-tos for me.
It's a Wonderful Life is on a short list for me too. That one
Okay.
has another personal ties because my mom watches it every year, and we always watch it every year.
My mom does the same thing. They usually watch it either Christmas Eve or sometimes they'd even, if they miss it for
Christmas
whatever
Eve.
reason, yeah, they'll
Christmas
push it
Eve
till
we
New
do.
Year's or something. But they always get that viewing in. And now they have, the colored version and everything. So they'll swap between black and white and colored. It's always fun. But yeah, those Christmas movie traditions are always awesome. Paige, do you have any Christmas movies that are near and dear to you or that you like to throw on a bi-yearly basis at least?
Yeah, so we just watched it this morning because we were just eating breakfast, and I was like, I want to watch this. It's Jack Frost. I grew up with it with Michael Keaton, and it's so corny and so bad, but I love it because
Yeah.
it reminds me of one of my favorite movies back when I was younger, which was Fluke. I like that concept of a little kid losing someone gets reincarnated. I don't know why, but it's just near to my heart. Not saying anyone passed away close to me recently, but this is cute. But Jack Frost and then the original Rudolph. My mom always puts that on Christmas with
Like
the
Mason?
the old Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. Yep. I am kind of glad we picked this one instead of Nightmare Before Christmas, just because Nightmare Before Christmas has been picked apart by so many people. We picked apart and deconstructed it in school too. Just the
Jeez.
fact of the claymation and Tim Burton and everything. So it was fun to watch something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to Paige, and neither one of us had seen Scrooge before. So, hey, let's definitely do this film just for the heck of it to watch something new, right?
Yeah.
Which, again, I think is always fun when that does end up happening on the Cinema Club because, especially with Christmas movies, I have found myself in a rut where I kind of rotate between the same 5, 8 films.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, and I'll try something new once in a while. But yeah, awesome that we got to explore a new film. Let's dive right into it. So, Scrooged is a 1988 American Christmas film based on the 1943 novella, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Scrooged is a modern retelling that follows Bill Murray as Frank Cross, a cynical and selfish television executive who is visited by a succession of ghosts on Christmas Eve, intent on helping him regain his Christmas spirit. And I don't know about you, but my mom loves the Christmas Carol story by Charles Dickens. So in my teens, I think we were watching multiple iterations of that film for the last 4 years I was living at home with my parents. So I did appreciate that we were getting more of a modern retelling of that same story. So IBCT executive Frank Cross plans an extravagant live production of A Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve, requiring staff to work on the holiday. He fired dissenting executive Elliot Loudermilk and sends cheap towels to most on his Christmas list. Stressing over the production, Frank's boss hires consultant Bryce Cummings, who secretly, or not so secretly, aims for Frank's job. The night before the live show, Frank is visited by the ghost of his unloved mentor, Lou Hayward, who died 7 years prior. Lou warns him of impending doom. Lou mentions 3 ghosts will come. Frank wakes up, thinking it's a nightmare, but Lou prompts a call to Claire Phillips, Frank's ex-girlfriend. That is a lot that happens right there, in the first 25 minutes of the film.
A lot of information that just got thrown at you in the first part. I haven't seen a lot of the Scrooge or the Christmas Carol, but
Okay.
so I had no idea what I was getting into. No clue. I know the concept of Ebenezer Scrooge and all that stuff, but I didn't know exactly what was getting thrown at me, especially for this one. I thought it was going to be more whimsical, fun. Me and my roommate and my girlfriend were saying it gave massive Beetlejuice vibes because I know it was made in
Yeah.
the around same year.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. I should say that for sure.
Well, even the opening sequence, which I think is maybe my favorite part of the film.
But I thought that's what we were watching. I was like,
No,
Santa
me
with a
too.
gun. I would love that.
Like Santa's workshop being shot up and the elves grabbing assault rifles. I was like, what the hell did Adam choose? And it's the night the reindeer died. I was like, whoa. But yeah, I had never seen the film, obviously. So I was like, what are we watching? There's definitely some interesting humor that's even just sprinkled in the backgrounds, like Cross's office where it has the definition of a cross on the wall.
Like
Like there was
something
just
you
like,
nailed people to.
yeah, it had some really interesting humor just happening in the backgrounds that wasn't even thrown at you. It was
Yeah.
a little bit more subtle, which I definitely appreciate the subtle humor that you kind of have to catch really quick in the background.
I think a big theme of the movie is expressed even in the little first part is the commercialization of Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think the movie overall kind of views that in a negative light. But I think that the opening does a good job of that, but also is really ridiculous and over the top at the same time. Bill Murray's just so over the top and silly as a really awful dude. And I think when it comes to the movie, obviously there's a lot of moving parts, but I think his performance is really important for it to be the functional movie, to have
He,
like
he
a
really is
realistic.
the only A-list actor,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I had no idea who anybody else was. I really was excited to watch it because I like Bill Murray and all of his movies he's played in.
Something else that my wife noticed that pops up a few times in the film was the Tab energy drink.
Yep, yep.
I had never had them in my experience, but my wife remembers them from middle school or something. But I just thought it was funny that he's always mixing something with an energy drink to like survive the whole production of Christmas Carol.
I did want to take a moment and just pause to share that the Cinema Club podcast is 100% supported by you, our listeners. So if you are enjoying the show and if you are wanting to support the show and continue to help it grow, please consider clicking the support button on our website. You can check that out at podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/the Cinema Club. Thank you so much. And now let's return to the episode.
I thought his acting through it was so different compared to his other movies
Yeah.
that it gave me like theater vibes, like more on set you're watching live because he had to be super loud and just over exaggerating. That was the vibe it gave me, was the stage acting, which was interesting in itself. You definitely had to get used to the whole concept of the movie. The first portion of it, I'm like, okay, this is what we're getting into. Bill Murray is a mean bastard who likes to yell and be angry all the time. I'm in for it. So it was definitely fun, especially the commercials that he decided to put out on Christmas Eve. And I think it was the acid rain, drug addiction,
Yeah.
international terrorism, and freeway killers. I'm not going to lie, I would be interested in watching those. It was not your typical holiday showing that they wanted to put out there.
I will admit, I did forget about, I don't know if it's before or after the section we've already talked about. I think it might be a little after, when he gets the report that an old woman has died watching his ad, and he's like,
Sweet.
nice. Great publicity.
He's super
Completely
pumped.
forgot about that. I rewatched it last night. No, it's just so over the top, and I love it for that.
I like the old boss, Hayward. I did like his special effects. I thought it was kind of neat how, again, they did it over the top, mummified looking.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed that part. The bullet holes, the little mice crawling through him. I like special effects that aren't CGI.
CGI.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Practical's always better. I live by that.
So for 1988, it was pretty good. I mean, it's something that you would see these days too. So
Yeah. No, I didn't feel the age of it too much when it came to the effects, for sure. I was like, oh, yeah, this could have come out in like 2000.
2004.
Yeah, exactly. So then during rehearsals and after lunch with Preston, Frank is visited by the ghost of Christmas past, who appears as a manic taxi driver. The ghost takes Frank on a journey through his past, revealing how he sought solace in television due to a distant father and lost love with Claire when he prioritized his TV career over her. Following the ghost's visit, Frank goes to the shelter to reconcile with Claire. However, his attitude worsens, revealing contempt for a homeless man and shelter workers. Before leaving, he tells Claire, "Scrape it off, Claire. If you want to save someone, save yourself."
I think this was my favorite ghost because personally, I like learning about people's past and seeing how they became who they are. And you can definitely tell that TV and entertainment was his only stable thing in his life back in his day. So that's why it meant so much to him to be as high up in the entertainment world he could. So I thought that was interesting. And the view I don't know why you would give a child a bunch of meat for Christmas. But now I wouldn't mind getting some meat for
That's high
Christmas
quality
because it's
meat. What do you?
expensive.
That's high quality meat right there.
Yeah, I liked learning about him and being Frisbee the dog. Like, it was definitely fun, especially that he chose entertainment life over his well-grounded girlfriend. Definitely made him who he was. Definitely
Pivotal.
my favorite ghost. He was over the top, obnoxious man, taxi driver.
Yeah, I was actually going to agree. I think that whole section is my favorite part too, just because it gives context. You know, you introduce to the character, and then this kind of gives context of why he kind of sucks. And it's pretty close between that one and the present in terms of which one's my favorite segment. The future one is my least favorite just because it makes me feel so sad. But we'll get into that later. I did a little bit of research of the movie
Oh, sick.
prior, and we haven't talked about it yet, but the present section involves a lot of slapstick humor. I found out a lot of it was real, like not stunt work, but her actually just physically hitting him. And she like broke down in tears several times throughout the filming because she was sad that she had to hit him.
Man, why didn't they just stunt double
I
it
know,
then? If
I don't know.
if they decided to do that, I hope she didn't really whack him with the toaster. That's for sure.
She did. She
Oh,
did.
okay.
Yeah. I just found that to be a super interesting element of the film. I was like, wow, so she is legit hitting him like 80% of the time.
I'm just curious on why they picked the Wizard of Oz character to be the present, the super whiny witch of good and present. I couldn't put that together, to be honest. I'm like, why her? So if you guys have any idea, throw it at me.
I'm going to be completely honest. I am also stumped at that choice. I'm sure it was purposeful, but I couldn't piece it together even now why that was chosen. The other two kind of make more sense. You can kind of connect it back to the character a lot easier, but that one isn't as evident to me.
It's just like they decided to throw costume on her and be like, be the good witch,
Yep.
Wizard of Oz.
Throw some glitter lotion on. All right, you're good. No, it really was interesting to me because it didn't hit, so to speak, for me either. I don't want to.
That was a good pun. That was good.
That was bad. I did not try. I should rephrase that. But
You're keeping that. You're keeping it.
And yeah, no, it wasn't landing for me either. And I guess we can talk about it a little bit too with the recap. So, like you guys were saying, the ghost of Christmas present appears as a sweet voiced fairy who physically directs Frank's attention. That was the best way I could nicely put that. Physically redirects Frank's attention. But like you guys were saying, she takes him to Grace's apartment, revealing her struggles to support her family. The ghost then shows James enjoying a modest Christmas with friends, despite Frank's cheap gifts. The visit ends in a utility space where Herman, a homeless man, has frozen to death, shocking Frank. Frank, desperate to escape, finds himself back on the production set after breaking through a boarded up door. Preston directs Bryce to take over rehearsals, giving Frank a break. In his office, a drunken Elliot, armed with a shotgun, confronts Frank for ruining his life. Frank escapes to the elevator, where the ghost of Christmas future reveals a bleak future, with Calvin institutionalized and Claire leading a disdainful life. Witnessing his own cremation, Frank emerges alive and offers Elliot an executive position, surprising him with his changed demeanor. Elliot accepts the offer. This is kind of where the film, at least for me, kind of just went off the rails.
I can agree with this.
Okay. I could see the film was really trying to just come out of left field wherever it could. And at this point in the film, I was like, okay, I just got to ride it out and see how it's all going to get wrapped up. I think the part that really kind of bothered me was,
it's been so long since I watched the movie. I unfortunately had some gripes myself. It's specifically with this portion. I want to hear yours first, and then I'll tell you. I'm curious if it's the same.
Yeah, for me, the part where I really just started so strongly dislike the character. He's already set up to be an asshole, obviously. That's supposed to be going through a educational experience, obviously. But after he's already been with the ghost of the past, already seen his poverty-stricken family, that he then goes to the homeless shelter and is just a complete ass to everybody. And it totally lost me. I was like, okay, I can see his journey. And then it just
he needs
lost me.
2 more visits and then he becomes good. He can't be good immediately. You know, he still got to.
I hear you're saying, but I was like, man,
This kind of leans into my overarching complaint. And, you know, as a kid, I can't really critically view the movie. I just was like, oh
sure.
man, he sucked, but he became good because stuff happened in movie. This is good lesson. Be good. Don't do bad things. It was good for me. But kind of what you're talking about, he didn't really progress after the first Ghost. And he did a little bit after the second. So basically, I feel like his character arc is just so loaded in the last part of the movie that it feels unnatural. Like it just happens because we got to end the movie in 30 minutes, okay? Rather than an actual earned thing. And another thing is the character of Claire for the future thing, just off the character that they presented. I don't feel like a little line make her into that person. I know it's important for him to teach the lesson, but it felt like it just happened because he needed to teach the lesson. But she seemed pretty steadfast in what she was doing. I doubt some random line like that is going to be like, oh yeah, F these homeless people. F all this hard work I've done. I don't know. I get it, you know, but admittedly, it kind of took me out how abrupt the character changes happened. It felt more, we need to get this movie over 90 minutes rather than anything actually earned.
Yeah. I think when they were writing it, they spent too much time in the beginning part and not making the ghost like an equal, I would say. I spent a lot of time in the present and the past, and then, like you said, future hit and
like no time.
Change. I'm a changed man because I'm just changed now.
I was in a burning casket for 30 seconds. I kind of thought I was going to die. Now I love everyone. You're getting double pay because I have changed. You have a shotgun in my face. I don't care. You are the best person ever. Also, just a random funny aside, the person who played Elliot Laudermilk, the person who got fired, do you know what his actual name is?
No,
Frank Cross.
I'm curious.
I'm Frank Cross.
It's a little bit more interesting than that, but that would have been funny. Bobcat Goldthwait.
That's his real name?
That's what it looks like.
Wow. I'm gonna
look
this up. I don't believe you because that's
that's his nickname. I just looked it up. It's his nickname, but that's his, I guess, actor name. So he's listed as Bobcat. I think it's Goldthwait, but I've seen him before in, I think, Police Academy.
He looked really familiar. I just couldn't put a finger on it because I was too focused on Bill Murray.
That's fair. That's super fair. But yeah, so I'm revisiting the movie. I did realize that, it's not as, I would say, well written as, well, I guess I didn't remember it to be well written, but I noticed some writing flaws revisiting the movie for sure.
It definitely is aged, that's for sure, especially the times and everything, which is also kind of interesting to see about older movies in the 80s. Be like, wow, that is how they probably really treated people back then. Just all the different going on in the world.
Nice to see a little microcosm in that slice of time.
It's just pretty soon it's going to be a period piece when we're up in our 80s. We're going to be like, yep, Scrooge, that's a period piece now. So.
Don't say that.
Well, let me wrap up the film and then let's dive into our thoughts. Frank, with Elliot's help, takes control of the live broadcast, apologizes to Grace, James, and the others, and passionately pleads for Claire to return. Claire sees this and heads to the network. As Frank and Claire reunite, Calvin speaks for the first time, bringing joy to Grace. Frank leads a joyful rendition of Put a Little Love in Your Heart, joined by the spirits, including Lou and 3 ghosts. The audience join in as the credits roll, and James praises Frank as my brother, the King of Christmas. Kind of circling back to what you were, I think, alluding to a little bit, Paige. It's been interesting just revisiting some of these older films. Like I watched Scrooge for the first time, obviously, for this podcast. And then I got about halfway through, I would say, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation last night for the first time. I never watched that either. And honestly, the hell. So there's some really sexist / weird stuff just off the top of my head in Scrooged, how Bill Murray's character kisses one of the girls under the mistletoe because they have to, air quote.
Oh my God.
And then calls out for the Claire character. Like, Claire, if you had any self-worth, you would be like, you were a dirtbag. Just did this on live television, and now you're calling for me to come back. And the thing that bothered me is that the main character enjoyed that. He was all about it.
Right?
He has
It's
got
such
a fetish.
it's such a mixed message. This changed, awesome guy, but he's okay with this. And it's like, oh, this is kind of weird. It was a short little part, but I remember physically cringing when that happened.
Speaking of cringe, I think I felt secondhand embarrassment at a part where they're in the past and they were dating in their apartment and they started barking at each other. It was like, oh, this is some weird kinky thing that's going on and you're roofing at them. I had a hard time watching that because it was just so strange. I
I
mean,
think I blacked that part out until you just brought it up.
I actually forgot about it too.
I'm like, I guess I'm gonna start barking at people. And I guess that's what it was in. Stuck with me, to be honest. I don't know why.
That's funny.
I think from what I gather that we're all saying is that this movie has got some low standards, but it's very interesting. It's fun. It's the 80s.
Yeah.
It's theatrical. It's got a good storyline. It's just made different compared to the other Scrooge's movies and the whole story. So I think they were just kind of playing with it, having fun with it, being experimental. They definitely got it.
I think it has a great message tied to it. The execution could have been a little better. And obviously, this is just a movie that was made, geez, feels weird saying it like this. It's 23, 35 years ago. Oh my God. So long ago. But like being a product of that time, there's just certain elements of the film that's just like, what?
Right. And again, I don't want to keep harping on this one note, but it was like this character, went through this evolution where, okay, like he's a good person now, but he's still a sexist piece of shit.
Yeah, it sucks. But like, what's that demonstrating in that time is that being sexist wasn't viewed as bad as it is now. You know what I mean? Because I don't feel like you can do that and have a character feel positive about that experience and that they still change. I don't think you could do that now and the audience perceive that positively.
Yeah, and that's probably why I keep bringing it back. This is my first time watching it,
Mhm.
Yeah. But it just was super interesting because, like we kind of been talking about, as far as a script aspect too, it was like we have this evolution of this character where it's ramping up. They're going through these different experiences where they're learning, right? And then at the end, like you guys have both hinted at, it was a very abrupt, we flip the switch and now they're a good person, according to them.
Reasons. Yeah, you can have that character arc. It's just got to feel earned. And I don't think the movie does nearly enough earn that at all. And I think you can still do it in 90 minutes.
The only thing that made me think that he actually had feelings at one point in his life was when that homeless guy died. I had a moment of like, oh, he's actually realizing that he was kind of mean to this person. This guy's died, and now he's kind of frightened a little bit. Because when he was holding the pocket watch and all of a sudden it just dropped, that I took as your time is limited. It is going down. You're going to die soon if you don't start changing. That was the only part where I actually saw him with emotion. And I thought he was going to start switching there a little bit, becoming a newer person. But no.
Yeah, like it wasn't earned. It felt like his perception was, oh, I'm a better person now. But at least my personal perception was not really.
I think that's fair though. Just it didn't feel earned. Do you know who did the music for the movie?
Danny Elfman?
You do. Yeah. What?
Danny Elfman, I mean, like, he did a lot of things back in the day. And when I saw it on the credits, because I do watch the credits. That's something I learned in film school was like, you sit down and you watch the credits because those people deserve it more than the people that act it. Yeah. And I've always taken it that way because they created the movie. But it was fun seeing Danny Elfman do it because this is something so strange that he would be a part of.
This movie was right before he did the Batman one.
Yep.
That's funny.
And I know Danny did Nightmare Before Christmas too. So, I mean, it was kind of connected there. He's just a popular dude back in the 80s. I mean, he still is.
It was a shock to me because admittedly, the music was all right, but I wouldn't have associated with Danny Elfman. But I don't know. It could be, I don't know. I don't want to read too much in. I was about to say maybe just phoned it in for this, but I don't know. It's a big name. And, Bill Murray's probably the biggest name attached to the movie, but I would say Danny Elfman's definitely second.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think the movie does a great job of using subtle symbolism and subtle humor. I'm kind of just summarizing how I feel about the movie. Has a good message. It's just the character you're supposed to care about most just has the unfulfilling character arcs. It kind of just falls flat a little bit. And obviously, I'd seen the movie before, but once we got to the point where I was noticing that the character arc was kind of, and I knew at the final act, the mute kid was going to say his first words. I don't know how to put it. It's just another moment that could totally work and be this really nice, heartfelt moment, but it felt so forced. And I admittedly kind of rolled my eyes at that part because this man is not changed, but we have to do all these forced moments to affirm or confirm that this is a changed man. But yeah, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Murray, he's a great actor.
I was gonna kind of agree with you there. Usually, even movies where it's about an evil villain or some bad person, you feel a connection with them somehow. Like,
Yeah.
I just watched the new Hunger Games movie, and I'm sorry, but like, I love President Snow now. Not that I like President Snow, I just feel more of attachment, and I
Oh,
know
yeah.
his background. This is why he is what he is. But for Scrooge, I didn't get an attachment to him,
At
so I'm
all.
like, why are you being like this, you butthole? I don't know. It's just like he didn't give off an energy that he sucked in the audience at all. It was a fun movie. I mean, it was
Fun with it. It was
entertaining. It was interesting. I laughed with everyone that was watching it because you were just like, the fuck is going on? So I love that you picked that as a Christmas movie, even though it was different. It was different.
variety is the spice of life. Okay.
Yes, it's definitely spicy.
It breaks up the Hallmark Christmas movies for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, all the movies that are coming out for Christmas now, I don't even want to watch them. They just look bad. Like the new ones. That's just me.
I hear you. Yeah, and then I guess to kind of wrap up my thoughts on the film, it has that dash of Christmas and holiday spirit in there, but I think it also has that undercurrent of just mean spiritedness throughout the entire film, which I think those things were just making, at least for me, the film really have conflicted tones throughout. And then you kind of throw on top Bill Murray being eccentric a lot of the times, the movie taking a lot of, I would say, risks,
Oh yeah.
which, hey, some of those kind of worked for us, like the first Ghost, right? But then three of us weren't really driving with the second.
Was it a boss? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was waiting for
So-
some monkeys to come out.
Yeah, start beating the shit out of Bill Murray too. Yeah, it was a really mixed bag for me. Glad that I got to explore a new Christmas film as a whole, because of the cinema club with this. I don't think it's something where I'm going to throw it on. Maybe
Not every Christmas.
no, maybe I'll throw it on and be like, damn, that was the 80s, like in 15 years. But it's cool that you, as a young kid, got the messaging and the big picture was from the film.
Yeah.
Even at that time, right? Even though now we look at it and we're like, okay, yeah, there's a lot in here that isn't working so well
Problematic.
as an adult,
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that you still got that really good messaging out of it as a young kid. It was something where you're like, hey, this was impactful as a kid. We should dive into it. And I've enjoyed you talking about why it was something you wanted to dive into.
And I keep alluding to having a good message. I don't know if I verbally said it, it obviously has a negative kind of critique of the commercialization of Christmas, but the real message that it tries to push home that is super important is just spend time with your family and loved ones. At the end of the day, that's a great message to put out into the world. Even if it, stumbles its way to the finish line, that message is still a message I think everyone should take with them.
And it's also saying, even if you're a bad, I'm going to say this like I'm a first grader. Even if you're a bad person, you become a good person if you just look back and try just a little.
Yeah.
There's like a message that, off in the film, and I think it's a good one, especially with a vulnerable kid watching it. You didn't grasp any of the hardships, the things that were going on. You were just watching this mean man become good.
Yeah. Oh, I think this is mildly important to talk about. The Ghost Christmas Future, when he opens his robe and you see that horror thing, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Could not sleep for months. after seeing that. That scared the crap out of me as a little kid.
This movie as a little kid. Like, what the hell?
It was definitely not under my parents' supervision. I didn't sneak out. It was just on the TV and it was late. And I remember watching it with my older brother. But yeah, I remember watching that scene and I was like, I'm not going to be mean. I don't want that to happen to me.
I like that.
7-year-old Adam is like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that scared the crap out of me. I was about 7 or 8 when I watched it.
I could totally see scaring the bejesus out of you. Because even now, I was like, whoa, that's a little disturbing. It's out of nowhere.
Just horror. We're like, whoa, oh my God. And then it just immediately goes into comedy after that, Doesn't even acknowledge that was a traumatizing moment for me. And the movie just keeps on going. Got to get this done in 90 minutes.
Yeah, I guess kind of put a bow on it. I am curious, we touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but what is your go-to Christmas movie as an adult now that you like to throw on every year?
That's not It's a Wonderful Life. And just because it was a movie I watched a lot as a kid, Jingle All the Way.
Okay. It's been a minute since I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's not good, but I love it so much. I love it so much. It's so lame and dumb and beautiful.
I think that's part of why at least a lot of us like Christmas movies, is if, they're always not this perfect cinema experience, but they have that cheesy, good feeling Christmas holiday vibe, and from what you've talked about too, a lot of times it brings us back to our younger days, our younger years, and that's just nostalgic.
The other one is all of those claymation movies back in the day. Jack Frost, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. There's a whole bunch of Santa Claus movies. Yeah. I think it's 14 movies in total or something like that. We got some movie watching to do. I try to watch all of them every year. We'll see. I'm going to watch most of them for sure.
What about you, Paige?
Something that I grew up with a lot. I mean, I know I said it earlier, is the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I just watched Jack Frost with Mike Keaton, but I think something that we always watched growing up is the Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It is. I don't mind the second and third one, but the first one is just the OG. You get to watch him become Santa Claus, and I thought that was just a fun experience.
Thoughts on the series?
I watched a couple episodes with my roommate about the series. I had a hard time trying to get into it, but I could definitely try to watch it from the beginning, because I think I watched it like the middle of the season. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. So I could probably start watching it. Have you watched it? Okay, I have not either yet.
I was going to say they're making a second season right now, right? Last year, my mom and my sister were all about it for weeks. So I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes and it wasn't clicking for me, unfortunately. I think it was too much cheese. It went too far.
Are you lactose intolerant?
I am, actually. But it just went too far and I was like, oh, okay. But no, as far as the OG movie, I'm right there with you, Paige. I absolutely love that one. Like the whole hot cocoa sequence. Santa loves cocoa. Or, whenever he says love it. For me, I think it would be, besides A Wonderful Life, I really do enjoy the Peanuts Christmas special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's so good. It's quick to throw on too. It's like 20 minutes or something. And then besides that, again, I really do love Home Alone 1 and 2. I don't know why, just as a kid, that was my favorite thing to like throw on during Christmas.
It was different too. Every single Christmas movie we just talked about is so different, and it's fun to see it. Gives a little background on how it grew up. It was interesting.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for exploring Scrooged, and thank you, Adam, for the recommendation, because I think even though the three of us as a whole maybe didn't have the most positive outlook on the end of the film, I think it was just really fun to dive into what we got out of it. So I appreciate it. This is fun. And that's what I think talking about movies is all about. So I appreciate you both.
I absolutely agree.
Fantastic. Well, have a great holiday season, everybody. And we'll catch you next time on the Cinema Club.
And that'll wrap up this episode of the Cinema Club. If you have not already, feel free to join the Cinema Club Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/cinema-club-TCC. And you can always listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and anywhere else you hear podcasts. Please consider also leaving us a review on iTunes. It really does help us reach more listeners. And also feel free to invite more new members to the Cinema Club podcast. if you are enjoying the content that we're putting out. Also wanted to share that you can email Nick or myself at the Cinema Club TCC@gmail.com if you would like to be on the podcast in the future. And again, finally, we are completely supported by you, our listeners. So if you are wanting to support the show financially, please consider clicking the support button on our website. You can check that out again at podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/cinema club. Thank you again so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next one.